kind enough to give us a demo. What are you going to be showing us today, Richard?
I'm going to be showing how I use liquid flux as opposed to paste flux, handy flux.
Oh, and how to apply it? Things like that? Cool.
When to use it. Yeah, I use it probably 95% of my work's probably using liquid flux.
Okay, so it's your go-to.
That's my go-to. And I have it in little spray containers, but not always in Febreze varieties.
Oh, okay, smelly good. Okay, that's important.
Yeah. But these are nice for travel. So if you're traveling and soldering, that's what you're going to use. Aquaflux is one of the varieties, as well as My Tea Flux from Rio Grande. That's their brand. I think it's pretty much the same configuration. And then there is Prips Flux, as well as Cuprinel and Batterns, I think. So the only other liquids that I'm familiar with.
Why do you like the liquid spray more than something else?
I found with the handy flux, there's a lot of, it's just messy, I think. Every time you go to open it, crumbly stuff comes out all over the place. You have to add water to it sometimes, or you can't get the right consistency. And it's just messy. I mean, it does a good job. It does its job really well. And in some cases, I like to use it to just kind of stick things together. They're going to be soldered together. But I just think it's a little cleaner, less fuss and muss.
Makes sense.
And the way that I apply it is by, first of all, heating the metal up and bringing it up to temperature, and not such that you oxidize it, but just warming this up a little so that when you spray it, it turns a nice little candy coat. Whoops, this is all moved up there. You can see how it's starting to get kind of sugar coated there, nice and white. So a nice coating on there. If you don't preheat it and you just spray it directly on there, then you get this kind of beading up, and everywhere there's gaps there, you're not going to have coverage by the flux. Okay. So you can see the difference there, So you got a nice coating there, right?
Okay, yeah.
So that's the idea for that. And then if I'm going to, what I'm going to do, I'm going to oxidize this little piece of silver here first. If I were going to solder something to this nice and oxidized, so we can talk about also about when not to pickle. So quench this. So we got some nice sturdy metal here.
Okay.
And if I was going to connect that to this piece, take a file or sandpaper and clean that bottom edge up and get it clean. Because one of the things you need for good solder joint is clean metal, flux, contact between the two metals, and enough heat. So then I would take, let's say you're doing a bezel or something, which I don't have on hand, but so I've got this clean edge, put a little flux in there, and actually make that contact there. You can hear that kind of sizzle maybe. So you got that contact.
So you didn't have to pickle the whole thing because you really just need that one part to be clean.
So one of the best anti-fluxes is dirty metal. So if I put a solder chip in there now, I'm not going to have a problem with the solder flowing up that other piece of metal because it's dirty. So the solder will want to go where the clean metal is. That's the theory. So you may be asking about this little wire nest here that's underneath. And this is made from the rebar tie wire. And I just make a little coil like that. This allows the air to flow underneath the metal and distributes the heat a little better, so you get a little better heat distribution. And also, on the solderite pads, I found if you just have the metal against here, it sucks up some of the heat for one thing, and it also sticks to it. And just let this heat up.
So you're really heating underneath the metal.
Yep. And I don't need to get heat directly on the solder because it will, from conduction, once it reaches the temperature to flow, it's going to flow. Okay, you see it all? It's all good. This is all the way around. Yeah, if you just remember those four things, the clean metal, contact, flux, and enough heat, it will flow.
All right. Thanks for your tips and tricks. We appreciate it.
All right. You're very welcome.
Hey, everybody, it's Lisa Niven Kelly here for Beaducation.com, and I am at Bead Fest Santa Fe with Richard Salley, and I just took his class. It was great, so welcome, Richard.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to chat with Richard a little bit and see what he's all about, because it's the first time I met you, but I've admired your work and your classes for years and years. So can you just tell us where jewelry making and teaching all began for you?
For me, well, I started working in metal in about 1969 as an assistant to a metal sculptor in California, Carmel, California. And that's where I was kind of introduced to soldering and welding and buffing, grinding, patinas.
You were hooked.
It was all the dirty work. I don't know if I was really hooked, but it was a lot of dirty work. But
it was work.
As any kind of assistant would be, right? But it got me interested in working with metal. Yeah. And so that was kind of a continuing occupation as well as avocation for me later. Being an assistant, as you know, doesn't pay very well generally. So I had a wife and 2 kids to support. So I went back to school and got a degree in a very hot topic, linguistics, which was
interesting.
Yeah, just like, what could be more boring than that? I don't know, but it was great. I liked it, and but I got you can't do much with a linguistics degree really, other than just teach linguistics. So I got a credential to teach elementary school. So I taught elementary school, and then taught middle school, taught high school, and then my last job was teaching high school photography. So I did 32 years as a public school teacher in the state of California. And then, but along the way, I kept doing the metal work and all of that, doing little sculptures and things. But then it was like 2002, I think, I took a workshop with Keith LeBou, found object jewelry guru, and it just seemed to be a good fit for my metal skills at that time. And I worked pretty big, and he works kind of big and clunky. So that's kind of where it started. And
was he teaching jewelry specifically?
It was more of a kind of a construction stuff. I'm trying to remember what he actually called the class. It was like shrines and icons or something.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So it wasn't, we learned to do etching for one thing, which is kind of translated later into jewelry. But it wasn't a jewelry class per se. But then from that, then I took some classes with Susan Kazmer and Robert Danzig, and here and there. All the goodies. All the good guys.
Yeah.
And so just little by little, picking up from those people, as well as a lot of self-exploration, which is not the most efficient way to learn. I know, but
really.
No.
I kind of find it like if you make the mistakes, you learn the hard way.
Well, I think it has kind of like a two-edged sword, because you make a lot of mistakes, but you just do things kind of intuitively, and you don't know that you're doing things maybe the wrong way. So just do whatever works, and then sometimes that kind of, I think, makes that part of your style too. But I know when I took a workshop with Charles Luton Brain, like 5-day workshop, and it probably saved me 5 years of learning. So that's the efficiency part of it.
There you go. That makes
but
sense.
I think the self-instruction is really good, and I know a lot of people who self-instruct. But you take little things here and there, and now with YouTube and things on the internet so available, gosh, you can just learn anything.
Yeah,
everything's out there.
It's true, for free too.
And it's nice to have a coach though now and then. So I think, I don't want to put myself out of business and say I don't ever take a class or something, but on the other hand, I think people need to kind of explore on their own too.
Yeah, but a live class like the one we did today is so important, because it's the little teeny things that no one can help you through a video.
Right.
But to have you, I definitely needed your help a lot today.
Yeah, and
really
that's
fun.
one of the things that's probably kept me from really delving into video or DVDs or whatever, just because I think, well, I know there's some things that people are going to ask, and I don't want to be answering emails, at midnight. And
have them
like
come
that.
to you instead.
That's right. So I like the classroom setup. I like the interaction, and so.
So was there a time where you were making jewelry and selling your jewelry? Or did you naturally just move right into teaching?
It was kind of a combination of teaching and selling things as well, mostly online. The first class that I took with Keith LeBou, there was a lady there, Linda Young, who organized an event in Phoenix called Art Unraveled.
Oh, yeah.
And so she was in the class with me. She said, "Oh, why don't you come teach at Art Unraveled?" Because I think that was her first year. And I said, "Well, this is my first jewelry class I've done. I'm not going to be teaching any jewelry stuff." She said, "Well, teach photography or something else." So I went there the next year and taught a pinhole camera, oatmeal box camera class.
I love it.
And,
Very fun.
So that was my first teaching outside of public education. And then from that, then I was selling jewelry. By then I had made jewelry by the time that came around another year. And so then I just started teaching one jewelry class, some etching or whatever I knew. I would teach what I knew. That's all you can teach. And then it just kind of kept going, snowballing. And then when I retired from teaching in 2009, just seemed to be more opportunities to travel and teach. And so now about once a month, I'm on the road teaching somewhere.
Out and about.
Out and about, yep.
Do you draw any similarities between teaching middle school and teaching jewelry? I used to teach preschool, and I kind of found with my teaching, I would find some similarities.
There's
controlling the classroom.
you don't have the discipline problems, of course, with adults, but everybody struggles with new concepts. I mean, when I take a class, I feel that same struggle of, I'm not sure. Did he say this or that? And do I use this tool or what? And then you're looking at the other person. I know all that. And so I think you try to just be cognizant of that. But everybody has, a learning curve. And in any group of, especially larger groups, you have a more diverse, group of skills and abilities and attention spans. And but I did learn from teaching high school, and probably from most of it. But in high school, when I taught photography, I tried to lecture like 5 minutes, and get those kids,
let them go
get in the dark room and start doing stuff.
You do that. I noticed that in today's class. Short demos.
Yeah, I try to do that.
Let people have at it.
Yeah, and don't give them too much to digest at once.
Yeah, just practice
That
and
comes,
do it.
Yes, for
I
sure.
noticed in today's class, which I loved, by the way. Thank you so much. I made this ring, but I'm going to hold it this far back from the camera. I love it. I noticed your style is really relaxed, which I love. There's a lot of teachers that are very technical. It has to be this straight or this, or do it exactly this way. And you showed us a lot of different ways to do things, kind of relax, don't get too caught up. Is that sort of what your philosophy is with teaching?
Yeah, it is exactly that. And I guess it comes from myself not knowing all about jewelry and all of its aspects. So there are holes in my knowledge. And so I'm always open to learning from students too about another way to do something. So I'm pretty flexible about how to get things done. I don't think there's necessarily one way, some people like liquid flux and some like other things. So you just go with what works.
Yeah. I appreciate that. That's great. So if you have a student that's a new artist and they're kind of struggling to come into their own, have their own voice, do you have any advice for them?
I think that the best way to develop a style is to do a lot of work. To have and so just keep making stuff. Make it until your style, I think, emerges from just making a lot of work and doing a lot of work. And the other piece of advice I think somebody gave me, and this was in a different realm when I was doing some painting, is join a local art association or maybe a jewelry club, or take classes somewhere where your work is out there, and you have to expose it and let other people see it and be critical of it or accepting of it. But don't keep it to yourself.
Get some feedback.
Get some feedback.
Yeah.
And that's pretty easy now with Instagram, Facebook, those kind of things. People are posting everything out there to get feedback. So that's a good way.
Yeah, that is nice to have.
But I think you got to do a lot of work to
Just
get a style.
Keep cranking, for sure. Any amount of time you can think on that?
4 hours a day.
Okay.
No, I don't know. All that you can, and when you got time. For me, when I was still had a full-time job, it was weekends and evenings, as much as you could stand. And now, I just, whenever.
So when you teach, do you have, or to your students at large, if you could yell to your people 3 tips that you always are saying in class, whether they're technical or general, do you have it can be 1 or 2, but some tips for...
One tip would be especially in a classroom setting, don't try to make the greatest piece of art that's going to ever come around, and the Smithsonian will not be here, this week.
Give yourself a break.
Give yourself a break. Don't take it too hard.
Awesome. So if our viewers wanted to take your class and learn live or even see your jewelry, where can they find you?
I have a website, as most people do.
Fancy.
Yeah, rsalley.com. And I have a list there of the workshops, or the
And
schedule.
can you spell Salley for us?
Salley.
E-Y.
Yes,
Got it.
Salley.com.
Yeah.
And I'm on Facebook under the same name. Well, Richard Salley, I think there. Instagram is rsalley also.
Got it. So do you have any exciting teaching things coming up?
Almost every month.
Yeah,
Exciting, yes.
every month. Wow. And you live in California, so
I live
do
in
you travel
California,
all
and
over the
I
United
hardly
States?
do anything in California. Although I had the opportunity to teach at Revere Academy next month.
Oh yeah, I've taken classes there.
I
It's
thought-
wonderful.
Yeah, I'm really pretty excited about that. And let's see, my wife and I usually do a retreat, like a week long in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So
Wow.
this would be, I think, the 7th year of that. So it's
I
always
want to go to that.
it's always in January. So if it's snowy and cold in your area, maybe, yeah. It's a nice time to get away there. So it's in this little self-contained compound on about an acre. That I think the accommodations are for 12 people, and then we have a cook, a chef on site that prepares breakfast and lunches. And
Sounds horrible.
workshop runs about it.
Do you have at that retreat or whatever you call it? Do you have like a set project that everybody's working on, or is it sort of
Yes.
open? Yeah, you'll have a.
There's some set ideas that we try to present each year, and I have a lot of people who come back year after year. So got to keep it, keep it moving and new stuff all the time.
Oh.
But there's open studio all night. So I mean, not all night, up till about 10 p.m. So people work in the evening sometimes they want to. And there's always opportunities to go downtown Puerto Vallarta for food and for drink and for just generally hanging out,
Checking it out.
being a tourist. Yeah,
That
was
sounds so
that's
fun.
probably something I look forward to every year. It's really been nice to go down there every year.
Well, I can highly recommend your class.
Well, thank you.
It was fun. I can't believe that I made this stone on stone. What did you call it?
This would be on stone. Stone on another
Stone
stone.
on
Yeah.
stone. Ring. It's really small.
Oh,
I love it.
well, good. That was
Okay,
fun.
cool. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us. I hope our
My
viewers learned something today, and we'll look for more of your classes.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
See you all. Adios, amigo.